Stream Elements. Said. MRG_live is now live. Streaming just chatting, mr.g_live US states today's state. Hashtag Connecticut Live Classroom Monday Friday on Twitch. MRG_live. Said. The.
Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Americana writer, got no education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur, until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer.
West Speed Live. Said. Disgusting.
Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G,
Nightbit. Said. Help Mr. G with a donation through Stream Elements. https://streamelements.com/mrg_live/tip.
he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Americana writer, got no education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur, until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer.
Igni63. Said. UPLZ.
Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Americana writer, got no education. I met him while streaming on a Hawaiian vacation. Unworn white Levi's were covering his femur, until he covered them with coffee and creamer. Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G, he's your average teacher, gone IRL streamer. Mr. G,
music.
Hey everybody, I'm Mr. G. Welcome to my class. Don't be a hater. Like or follow the stream. And if you're watching this on YouTube, like or subscribe. Alright? Don't be a hater. Be a good person. Be nice to everybody. It's a miracle that we're even existing to begin with, says Carl Sagan. You don't know who Carl Sagan is? Then you are probably not a very cool person. Anyways, today we're going to be learning about the state of Connecticut. You guys never been to Connecticut? Hey Google, Volume 2. Hey Google, play Beethoven.
Playing Ludwig van Beethoven on Pandora.
So, Connecticut. It's the one of the original colonies.
I love you.
Do you? I once said that to somebody, and I've said that. I've said that. I don't know. Anyways, back to Connecticut. It's one of the original 13 colonies. It's the 5th state. It's where that first helicopter was invented. What we'll do here is I'm going to, since we did a brief class in Connecticut earlier today, I'm going to go through this rather quickly, and then we're going to start the slideshow rather quickly. So normally I would take more time, answer questions, this and that, yada, yada, yada. But since we did this earlier, I'm just going to go through quickly, then we're going to start the slideshow. You know, a lot of teachers, when I, taught high school for 2 years and private school as well, longer than that, you would teach the same class like 3 times in a day. So there's nothing like
amazing quality.
Unheard of that. Thank you. We're streaming in 1080p on Twitch, live Monday through Friday. We do a new state every day. Once we're done with all of the states, we're going to start on U.S. presidents. Hey Google, can you turn it down a little bit? I'm talking. Okay, so that Google, it just goes crazy, like ah. But anyways, we're going to learn about Connecticut today. Tomorrow is Rhode Island Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to learn about New Hampshire, and Friday, we're going to learn about Maine. Normally, this class starts at 12 o'clock Hawaii time, so if you're on the West Coast, it's 2 o'clock. If you're on the East Coast, it's 5 o'clock. And if you're in the middle of the country, Central or Mountain, then it's 3 or 4 o'clock. But I also do replay the VOD on, restream the VOD on YouTube immediately afterwards, too. So, hey, it's what I do, it's what I enjoy doing. You was paid $50 an hour to do this exactly what you're watching right here. Yes. And I still am paid as a private tutor as well. If you want to know more about me, my Instagram is on the page. But I'll go ahead and put my website on the screen as well. I'm going to edit these cards too. It's about time to edit them. But on the screen you'll see gxnetwork.live. If you want to know more about me, your teacher here, Mr. G. So back to Connecticut. The 2 biggest schools in Connecticut are the University of Connecticut, UConn as it's known. They're the Huskies. As you can see on the board here, I have the emblem of the Huskies. And then I also have the Yale emblem right below that. This right here is the Yale coat of arms. This is the head coach, Gino. I can never remember his last name, but he's the head coach of the women's basketball team, the women's UConn Lady Huskies, I guess they're called. And they've actually won 11 NCAA championships. The men's have won 4 NCAA championships, which is a lot, but 11 is by far the university in the United States that has the most college basketball championships. So good for them, right? All right, as far as the state of Connecticut, the capital is Hartford. It's one of the oldest cities in the United States. Hartford circa 1635, one of the oldest cities. Also on the board there is the state flag of Connecticut. You'll see 3 grapevines on a white Baroque shield. Count them, 1, 2, 3. The three grapevines represent the three oldest settlements, which are Windsor, Weatherford, and Hartford in the state of Connecticut. Also, on the state flag, you will see the words written in Latin, K, hey Google, turn it down, K transtulant sustenit, which means, in Spanish it means something like let's make a deal, but in Latin it means he who transplants sustains. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. Connecticut is a real thinking man's state. It's one of the most educated states in the United States. Its neighbor in New England, Massachusetts, is the most educated state in the United States. One thing about Connecticut that signifies or separates itself, it's the only state that's considered in the tri-state area, which is New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and also it's considered part of New England. So it can go both ways. It can be part of the tri-state area, and it can be part of New England. So it has, New England media, New England sports teams, but also it has, New York-based areas. The drive from New York to Yale University is only about an hour and a half. Hey Google, how long does it take to drive from Yale University to Times Square, New York City?
It takes 1 hour and 29 minutes to drive from Yale University.
1 hour and 29 minutes.
You can see the full dimensions in your phone.
Woohoo! All right. Thank you for the follow there. All right, continuing. If I didn't mention, Yale University is located in the great state of Connecticut. Yale is responsible for 5 U.S. presidents: Taft, George Herbert Walker Bush, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton went to law school there, and Henry Ford as well graduated from Yale University. It is a private school. Its students about 12,000. 12,000 students and 4,000 instructors. That gives a student-to-teacher ratio of 3 to 1. So for every 3 students is 1 very intelligent, very well-paid instructor. Yale is located in New Haven, Connecticut. New Haven is the wealthiest part of the state. It's in Fairfield County. Also, Stamford, Connecticut is in Fairfield County. The worst part of Connecticut, we mentioned, Hartford, Connecticut. It's one of the oldest cities in the United States, and it used to be the wealthiest city in the United States shortly after the Civil War. The first few decades after the Civil War, Hartford, Connecticut was one of the wealthiest cities, not only in the United States, but in the whole world. Now, currently, it's one of the poorest cities in the United States. 1 out of 3 residents of Hartford city limits are living in poverty. It's a drastic contrast between the wealthy residents that live in the Hartford metro area. The residents in the Hartford metro area are some of the wealthiest New York mainly based residents. So there's a big disparity in wealth between rich and poor. Only New York has a bigger difference in the wealth gap between rich and poor than Connecticut. Industries Connecticut is known for: finance, services, insurance, real estate, and some chemical manufacturing. Some agriculture there is mainly nursery and greenhouse. They do have dairy, and they do have some aqua farms as well. They do grow corn. It's mainly for feed because in the colder areas you tend to have more livestock, and they also do have tobacco is grown there. So we talked about New Haven, Connecticut. We talked about Stamford, Connecticut, Fairfield County. Bridgeport is the largest city in the state of Connecticut, population 145,000. It's also the worst neighborhood as well, Bridgeport.
What camera are you using these days looks much better?
Bridgeport, Connecticut. I'm using a Mevo camera, MEVO. Came out about a year ago. It has this nice feature of autopilot, which is good for this type of presentation. So another thing about Connecticut, they do have a coastline, but the beaches are blocked by Long Island. Long Island is a very long island. I'm probably show you a picture here. And in that area, that's the area of New Haven and Yale. You'll also find the Peabody Museum of Natural History in that area, and as well as the Mystic Museum, which is a series of ships, old ships from 200, 300, 400, 500 years ago at that museum. And you'll have one of the world's largest submarine museums and a aquarium. It's called the Mystic Aquarium. And other than Hawaii, I believe it's the only aquarium that has a beluga whale. So that's one of those smaller whales. If you would like to see one of the only places you can go is Connecticut. Connecticut has the third highest taxes in the United States. It's the third smallest state, but it's fourth most populated. So there's a lot of people everywhere. The speed limit was the first ever speed limit came from Connecticut. I talked about Hartford being a really bad area. West Hartford is actually a nicer area. Like I said, the Hartford city limits, it's very impoverished. It's known to be a very poor area, but right outside of that is extremely wealthy. So they need people to, wash the wealthy's dishes and mow their yards, I guess, right? So it's one of the oldest colonies. It's one of the original 13 colonies with one of the oldest cities. The state tree is the white oak, the state flower is the mountain laurel, state bird is American robin, and the state insect is the praying mantis. It sits there on the ocean, and Countryman pointed out earlier that Connecticut is the only state that has New York on its south, on its west, and on its east. And I'll show you on the map, that's actually true. It also shares a border with Massachusetts and Rhode Island and the Atlantic Ocean, but like I said, Long Island blocks off its beach area, the Long Island Sound. Some famous person from Connecticut is Aaron Rodriguez. He was a famous New England Patriots football player that was involved in a gay love triangle. An award-winning article written in Sports Illustrated about his murder trial was really put things in light in Connecticut. He was like the star tight end. And he was also in a gay love relationship with the quarterback of a championship-winning football team. I can't make this up. The quarterback and the tight end, they got into it. All right, continuing on. They have many different types of burgers and pizza. I'll show you that in the slideshow that we're going to start in a minute here. The area of Connecticut was first settled by the Dutch in 1614. Within a couple decades, the English had gotten there. Plymouth, I believe, was 1639. That was in Massachusetts, of course. But in that time, English settlers outnumbered Dutch settlers by far. And that's true for New York, Massachusetts, and everywhere else in New York.
Who was that football player you were talking about?
His name is Aaron Rodriguez. Hey Google, who is Aaron Rodriguez?
According to Wikipedia, Aaron Joseph Hernandez was an American football
Aaron Hernandez.
Murderer.
Okay.
He played in the National Football League for 3 seasons with the New England Patriots.
Hey Google,
until his career.
Volume 10. Hey Google, who was Aaron Hernandez? Sorry, Aaron Hernandez.
I found some information for Aaron Hernandez killed. Do you want to hear it?
Hey Google, who was Aaron Hernandez, the football player?
According to Wikipedia, Aaron Joseph Hernandez was an American football tight end and convicted murderer. He played in the National Football League for 3 seasons with the New England Patriots until his career came to an abrupt end after his arrest and conviction for the murder of Odin Lloyd.
Hey Google, pause. Another interesting thing about the Aaron Hernandez case is...
There's a whole special about him on Netflix.
Yeah, that's also an award-winning Netflix documentary about him as well. Another interesting thing about Aaron Hernandez, it shows where he grew up in Connecticut, in New Haven, the poorer parts of Connecticut. And it's a small city, population 123,000. So people knew each other, and there were only a few high schools, and he was a star there. Him and the quarterback. Obviously, the quarterback was more famous than he was, right? But the quarterback goes on interviews and talks about their homosexual relationship and how It was a big secret for him and everything, which is, you know, understandable because of
Cool
how it's frowned upon in those communities.
Small
So, Aaron Hernandez, one more thing about that makes the documentary so interesting is all of this came out, and while he was in prison, he was convicted of murder. He had murdered Odin Lloyd, but he had also was on trial for another murder. And during that time, he was worried that he had a daughter, a little girl, and he wanted his daughter to receive his NFL earnings. And the only way that was going to happen is if he wasn't convicted of a murder, I believe. I don't know the exact details, but for him to receive his NFL retirement money, for his daughter to receive that money, and for his wife to receive the money, he had to kill himself. And so he committed suicide in prison in order for his in order for his baby's mother, and his daughter to have money for the rest of their lives, to be taken care of, I should say. It's more politely. So I don't know the exact details, but if you have Netflix, 50% of Americans have Netflix. Watch that. Also, if you have Amazon, 50% of Americans have Amazon. You can subscribe to Mr. G for free, right? But I do want to stop I do want to get through this part real quick since I've already done this today. If you're watching this on YouTube, shout out to YouTube. Don't be a hater. Give me a thumbs up. Don't worry about whatever those other broadcasters are doing. I don't know any of them. I'm out here in Hawaii doing my own thing, but it's a good thing. All right, Yale. They're responsible for 20 living billionaires. A few of them are self-made billionaires, but if you're going to Yale, how self-made are you, right? So they're responsible for 5 U.S. presidents and over 20 current living U.S. billionaires. And some of them are self-made billionaires. I think that's good to point out. Okay, that's about it. We're going to start the presentation. I guess there aren't really many movies from Connecticut. There's the Mystic Pizza, and then there's the Haunting in Connecticut horror movie. I mentioned how they have high taxes. They're known to have not any culture. People leave Connecticut. It's one of the oldest states, but it doesn't have history. You know, it doesn't have culture. It doesn't have history. It's known to have strip malls and, chain stores and stuff like that. It doesn't have any mom and pop places. It's kind of boring. It does have some few nicknames. The Constitution State, the Land of Steady Habits is my favorite. The Provision State, like lame nicknames, right? The Nutmeg State. I guess they used to produce a lot of nutmegs. Like I said, it's a small state, population-wise and area-wise. It's the 3rd smallest state, and there's only 3.5 million people. It's, you know, in the middle of the country's population-wise. They have 7 electoral votes, and they always vote, generally they always vote Democratic. A very liberal state. Very high taxes. Some of the famous people from there, like I said, George H.W. Bush, George Bush, and Meryl Streep as well. The 3 of them also went to Yale. The biggest schools there, UConn, has about student population about 32,000. And
Mr. G, what's up, bro?
And then thank you for the follow or donation or whatever. All right, so we're gonna go and start. Oh, and the state motto in Latin is "Que translucent sustenent," which means. It means he who transplants sustains. Que translucent sustenant. So it's K TRANSTULIT translucent SUSTINET. K translucent sustenance, which means he who transplants sustains. It's not about survival of the fittest.
Joseph.
It's about survival of the most adaptable.
What happened to CX? I haven't been watching since last year.
I have no idea what you're talking about. All right, continuing with the slideshow, we're going to go ahead and start with just some fun facts about the grants. But you're welcome to this class. This is Mr. G's class. I don't know what that X thing you're talking about. But if you want to check out Mr. G's website, it's all about Mr. G. It's not a network. There's nobody else on there except for Mr. G. And that's gxnetwork.live. It's on the screen right here. So if you want to know more about me, your teacher, then go to the website. It has a bio about me, a biography, and different things I've been through, different education I have, and different jobs that I've had as well. So check that out, and also it has links to all my social media too. All right. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, check out the links in the description. There's a lot of different social media and this and that, and also watch the live stream as well. Okay, so continuing with a great state of Connecticut. Massachusetts is the longest spelled state. But Connecticut, I mean, there's a lot of letters in that. E-C-T-I cut is the way that I remember it. So, we're just going to do a couple fun facts. Actually, we're going to skip the fun facts. We'll just go straight into famous people from Connecticut. So we talked about Aaron Hernandez. I called him Aaron Rodriguez. I apologize to his family if they're watching. But yeah, he is from Connecticut.
With any of the old streamers?
Somebody else from Connecticut is Herschel Walker Bush is from Connecticut. Connecticut, like Virginia, has a lot of presidents that are from there. And also his son, George W. Bush, also from Connecticut. Somebody else from Connecticut, real popular last few years, Candace Owens, is from Connecticut. Another famous person from Connecticut is Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan is from Connecticut. Somebody else from Connecticut is Christopher Lloyd, famous, my favorite movie, Back to the Future. Christopher Lloyd is from Connecticut. Another famous person from Connecticut is the one and only Seth MacFarlane is from Connecticut. I didn't know that. Seth MacFarlane is from Connecticut. Well, what does he say about Connecticut? Well, this is a quote from Seth MacFarlane. This is what he says about Connecticut. He says, "I'm from Connecticut, and we don't have any dialects." Well, I don't think we have any dialects, and yeah, it's very complex. That Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New England region is arguably the hardest dialect to nail. And this is Seth MacFarlane, who is from Connecticut. Seth MacFarlane from Connecticut, that's what he said. So, somebody else that's from Connecticut is Diana Ross. Diana Ross is actually from Connecticut. I didn't know that. Who else is from Connecticut, Mr. G? Well, Ron Howard, you know him? Yeah, I know him. He's from Connecticut. Oh, really? Wow, that's cool. Who else, Mr. G? Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's from Connecticut. Oh, really? He's from Connecticut? Yeah, that guy. Crazy guy. Yeah. Mad Max. Yeah. Who else from Connecticut? Oh, Christopher Walken. Yeah. Also a very crazy dude. Is from Connecticut. Somebody else from Connecticut, Regis Philbin. Regis Philbin, I thought he was from New York. Well, a lot of people from New York go to Connecticut. It's only an hour drive. Who else is from Connecticut? Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti is from Connecticut. Oh, yeah, he's been in a couple of movies I've seen. Yeah. Who else is from Connecticut? Michael Bolton, who just had his 60th